In PBR notes, we are going to look into PyCharm and GitHub. In particular, we are going to look at process to upload a new project to GitHub using PyCharm. Essentially, the process has the following steps. You'll create a new project named GitHub test. We'll write a basic Python structure in PyCharm. We'll upload all of this into GitHub and then verify if that project exists in GitHub. So what are the prerequisites? So we need a GitHub account already set up, then login credentials for GitHub, username and password or token, and of course we need PyCharm. Let's start. So now I'm opening PyCharm, which is a professional version, but any version would work. So I open a new project there, and I'm renaming the new project as GitHub test. Once the whole environment is created, I'll try to create a couple of script files and one notebook file. So this is a project, and in this case I'm selecting a Python script. I created a directory called source, and then I'm creating a directory called notebooks. So within this script, I'm created a utils file, test utils, and I'm trying to write some code here so that I can call in the main file. So I can create a main file, but I think there is already a main file, so instead I will just drag it into the source file. I'll use that one, and then in the notebook I'll create one notebook and write a hello world. Okay, now the hello world works. So now I'm choosing the VCS option, and sometimes there is an option called share project to GitHub. So here my GitHub credentials are already entered, so it's not asking for username and password. All it's asking is whether what is the repository name. Once you change the VCS now became to Git. So what I'll do is I'll go there and commit. So if you see it, yeah, so once you share it, you already see everything that's been there. Now let's say if I want to add another file, I'll create another file here. Let's see. So test2.py, and it's asking whether it should be added to the local Git, and yes, we say yes. And I'm writing some dummy code there so that we can verify once this is done. So I did a commit, so it will commit to the local. You have to give a message, so it will commit to the local Git, and when you say push, it will actually upload to the remote GitHub location. So before uploading, let me check. So even though I said commit, it's not showing up there, right? So when I push, that's when actually I will see let me refresh it here. Okay, you see test2.py. So essentially you need to remember git and commit and push options. So let's summarize what we learned in this session. So we uploaded a new project to GitHub using PyCharm. Essentially, when you create a new project, you are using in the menu, you are looking at VCS, share the project on GitHub, and you give a project name that will show up in the GitHub, and then you have to say private, and then if your credentials are already in there, just say share. Then the VCS in the menu will change to Git. Then after that, if you write some code, you can just say Git Commit and also Git Push in the menu. So yeah, if you remember these 4 steps, you should be good to go. That's all. Now let me try to download a project from GitHub using PyCharm. Okay, essentially we are going to download a project. So what do we need to do? So we need a Git URL. So in this case, I'm going to get data science ipython notebooks.git. So that one, you can go to this project and you can, here you can say in Python, you can in GitHub you can select a project. In this case I am selecting this public project and I am looking at this path. So this one I can copy it here and then I can use it to download. So you need this path, and then once you have that, you can clone it within your PyCharm environment. Once you clone it, you can make some edits and do the commit and push that we talked about earlier. So let's do that while we are here. So the way we do is we open a PyCharm, and in this one you can see there is already an option called get from VCS, right? So you just say get from VCS, and this is where it's asking for URL. So I enter the URL and I say clone. So this is fairly straightforward. So it's downloading it here. It's a pretty big project, so it might take a little bit of time. Now it downloaded that particular project and it's trying to create the environment needed for it, like Python interpreter and all that stuff. So in this case, so this is the project that I just downloaded. Let's say I try to in scripts, I guess, or I can write something here. Let's try to do some test. So new Python file, I can say test.py. So here it's asking to add to Git. So far in the sci-fi folder we are writing within test, we are writing test.py. So we can just add, and as usual you can say, now this one changed to Git, so you can say commit. So when you give commit, you need to write some message. Let's say message 1, you say commit, and then you go to Git again and then you push it. So you just say push, and that's it. The project will now you can see that same project with modifications. So we'll go back here, and within that we look at sci-fi, and there is a folder called test, and right now we just wrote test.py, right? So this is what we wrote. Message 1 is what I wrote. So there is nothing here, but this is the message that I wrote. So that's how you download a project and you start working with it. Let me show you how to remove a project. So when you are in this project, you click on it and then you go to files, and then you can say close project. So once you close the project, you see still here it's not completely gone, so you can say remove from recent projects, so it won't show up here. And then finally you can go to the folder, PyCharm projects folder, and you delete that particular project, and that way you can remove a project. Now we'll look at another concept known as now we are going to look at a useful program called Cookiecutter. What this can do is to create a data science project template, or for that matter any project template, but in particular we are going to look at data science project templates. So the details of Cookiecutter for data science can be found at this link, which is drivendata.github.io Cookiecutter data science, right? So you have all the reasons why you need a Cookiecutter. Essentially what it says is like, to have a project, if you have a structure, it's easier to reproduce, is easier to share, and it's consistent from project to project. So if you have one structure, that will help. And they created a sample structure. You can see that structure here. So if you create any project, within that project you will see all of these files and folders. There is a data folder, there is a docs folder, models folder, notebooks folder, and within source there is also again data, features and models and so on. Sometimes you also have tests, but this is one of those template. So it would be nice for us, instead of creating each one individually, if you could just copy this whole template and create a file. That would be easy, right? So let's look at how we can install this one. So the first step is to use this code, pip install Cookiecutter. So I can just copy this and I'll go to my terminal. So and I will paste this. So I already installed it. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is actually I need to go to PyCharm folder so that I can actually open later. Okay, now within this folder you go to the proper folders. Now I'm trying to create. So let's see if what happens if I try to install. So I'm trying to install Cookiecutter and it says it's already installed, so I don't have to reinstall. Now the next instruction is Cookiecutter, and then you are giving this particular path to data science template, right? So you go to your terminal and paste that command. So I just said Cookiecutter and enter. So it's asking you are downloaded, you already downloaded this before, is it okay to delete and re-download? So we'll say yes. So it's asking for a project name. We will say GitHub, so we'll say DS test template, right? So even in the GitHub repository we can say the same. And what is the author name? I'll just say PBR, and description test template for DS projects, right? So if I want to have license I can have, or no license I can put 3, so I'll put 1. S3 bucket we don't need it here, AWS profile we don't need it here, we want Python 3, so we are going to do it. So that's it. If I go here, we just created DS template, cd ds test template. So now if I look into it, so you see all of these files and this setup.py, talks.ini, and files are created, and also folders are also created. So if you go into any of them, you will see, for example, if you go into src, you will see additional folders, right? So this is exactly what you were seeing in this web page. So this particular structure is already created for us. Let's try to load this particular project that we just created into PyCharm, right? So that the project name is DS test template. So we go here and we say open project, right? So you can say open in the PyCharm. This is a DS template, so you just say open. So now PyCharm is trying to open this particular project. So you can see this template, there is really nothing in it. But there is just a readme.txt structure. So if you go into there are some make data sets. There is really like very basic code. It's like a template code. Now if we want to commit this particular project, so to GitHub, we have seen how to upload to a GitHub any new project, right? So we can just say VCS share project on GitHub, and it's asking the name of the project, so it's DS test template, so we can make it a private, and then description, right? You say test DS template, and then you can say share. So that's it. And we can actually go into GitHub, and it's a initial commit add, so we can go to the see, this is the folder that we just created. It's called DS, right? Okay, So we are able to commit that particular project. So essentially, to do that, the steps are: you install Cookiecutter, and then you give the Cookiecutter an address. In this case, we are using a driven data Cookiecutter data science, and you are entering some details like project name, repository names, and you just followed the prompts. And finally, to commit, we are going to use VCS share project, VCS git memi, and then in the menu we say git commit and git push if you were to add any documents and if you want to upload it to the GitHub. I think it's fairly straightforward, so we will stop here.